USC will turn its lectures online tomorrow. We have more on this 3-day drill.
LAUSD updates the community on its plans to combat the coronavirus threat. We take you to their latest meeting.
And workers at LAX demand changes and more training in response to the coronavirus.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
USC is just one of many colleges moving online to deal with the spread of the coronavirus. Good evening, I'm Nathan Hyun.
And I'm Genevieve Glass. USC's first school-wide test of the Zoom system will begin tomorrow. Annenberg Media's Kevin McNamara is live from an Annenberg classroom.
Thanks, guys. I'm here in one of what's about to become a familiar sight across USC's campus, an empty classroom. Now, if you haven't heard, USC has canceled in-person classes for the rest of this week as part of its coronavirus prevention. But before you celebrate too hard, students know that they will still be meeting online with all the lessons delivered via video streaming through the service Zoom. Now, we actually spoke to a student who is studying online learning about some of the impacts it has by moving to the virtual classroom.
A lot of universities are being forced in the position of using these online learning tools without proper training for teachers, for students, administration. The biggest thing is training. I'm afraid a lot of students at USC might now be like, oh, I can kind of be anywhere. I can be on my phone during this. I can kind of multitask. It's not going to be as productive as an experience as being in class or viewing it as this is a learning space.
So this is what the classroom environment is going to look like for USC students for the foreseeable future. I'm here live on Zoom now, and only about a third of the faculty here actually have experience using Zoom. So there's been a ton of training workshops all day and all week to make sure that everyone's up to speed and none of the lesson plans are disrupted. Of course, the big question is what's going to happen when classes return following spring break next week. Now, there's been no decision made yet, but some other schools have already decided to cancel in-person meetings for the rest of the semester, so we'll await word from the administration. But I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Kevin. And while many classes will go online the rest of the week, most labs will still meet as usual. From chemistry to dance, all forms of learning that require hands-on practice will continue as planned. Regular lab shifts will remain on schedule until further notice. We spoke to some USC students on why this exemption is necessary.
I had one teacher decide that she was just going to hold class anyway. It's an acting class, so it's like not really conducive to online. Most acting classes are all about interacting with other people. If classes get indefinitely moved online or even for a period and we're not allowed to meet, I'm not sure that not trying it out will be a very good idea.
I just don't understand how we would do them online because they are all hands-on, and I think that's the reason why they haven't figured out a way to not go to lab, and that's why we're still going to lab this week.
It's unclear at this point whether lab classes will continue if USC decides to move lectures and seminars online after spring break. Dean Willowbay moderated a Q&A session on COVID-19. Many Annenberg students actually joined via Zoom. Our cameras were not allowed to record the meeting, but afterwards we talked with the dean and 2 students who were there.
Most important bit of advice for students, read your emails, please, because information is coming fast and furious, and that's the best way to keep up to date. The next and perhaps the most important bit of advice for students is to please take care of yourselves. The best way we can all weather this is that we are physically and mentally as fit as we possibly can. Sleep, eat, exercise, and keep an eye on one another.
I'm also really glad I got to suggest to them maybe making a blog for all USC faculty, staff, professors, students, and parents. Just to keep them updated on what's going on, both with the disease, but also with the school, because I know a lot of people are really concerned right now what's going to be happening after spring break next week.
I'm just so confused as to what's going to happen with our classes because it seems like they don't really know. They have a backup plan in place, but their uncertainty about the future means that I'm just as uncertain as them.
And of course, uncertainty is uncomfortable while we wait for answers. But in the meantime, you've all heard the drill. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, and avoid crowds.
And universities across California and the country are moving classes online because of the coronavirus outbreak. Harvard decided to cancel classes and order students to leave campus as of this Sunday. Other institutions canceling their in-person sessions are UC Berkeley, UCLA, UCI, UCSD, Columbia University, Ohio State, Princeton, the University of Washington, and Cornell.
For the remainder of the semester, we will have classes only online and we will not be allowed to stay on campus. But the faculty will be required to stay on campus and conduct the online classes. I'm currently between plans. I could either go back home, I could stay in Boston, or I could go stay with my roommate in North Carolina. Harvard's measures do seem to be the most drastic that I have heard of.
USC released a statement informing students that university housing and dining will remain open during spring break.
The board members of the Los Angeles Unified School District provided an update on the threat of coronavirus in Los Angeles County. Superintendent Austin Buettner reassured attendees that no member of the school district has contracted the virus. He also reminded people to take proper precautions like washing their hands, even showing a video where school children and the superintendent taught people to wash their hands to the alphabet song. The LAUSD board voted today at 5 p.m. whether to declare a state of emergency. We have no word on the result just yet. If passed, this will allow Superintendent Buettner to make executive decisions without normal procedure, like shutting down schools if the outbreak worsens.
LAX workers gathered at Tom Bradley International Airport this morning to demand training on how to handle the coronavirus. Reporter Tony Reveles talked with workers and passengers.
LAX workers want all workers to know their rights when it comes to the coronavirus. Employees of Jetstream Ground Service gathered to demand changes with their cleaning routine.
I'm still stuck to breathing. Breathing the same air that these passengers have come and gone off of. So what do? I'm cleaning with archaic stuff still. Is that going to destroy this new virus?
Jetstreams is a third-party contractor that hires employees to clean inside planes. Jetstream says, quote, their LAX workers have always had an abundant supply of safety equipment. They also say as of last week, they required all employees at LAX to be retrained in approved Los Angeles World Airport safety. But workers say otherwise.
Nothing changed. We clean the same way. The same way we clean it. Nothing changed, nothing added, nothing took away. We clean in the same way like regular before the virus came about.
LAX workers here at Terminal 4 will be handing out these bags filled with latex gloves, face masks, and hand wipes so that passengers and workers could feel safe. LAX declined to comment on these issues regarding Jetstream. All workers agree on what they want, training on how to handle the coronavirus. For Annenberg Media, I'm Tony Reveles.
LA County has confirmed 2 new cases and 3 in Long Beach for a total in California of 157 cases. The LA County Public Health Director warns the virus can be transmitted by standing just 6 feet from a person infected with COVID-19 and is likely to spread rapidly.
We're now at 17 cases reported by us. There's an additional 3 cases that were reported yesterday. For Long Beach, for LA County, that means the total of cases of confirmed positive cases of novel coronavirus COVID-19 now stands at 20 cases.
Almost every state has registered some cases of COVID-19, and deaths have been reported in 5 states. In Washington, 24 deaths. California at 2 deaths, 2 in Florida, 1 death in New Jersey, and 1 in South Dakota. Coronavirus is also affecting the race for the White House, with campaign events now on hold. Former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders both announced that they would cancel their respective elective night rallies in Ohio, citing public health and safety concerns. President Trump and Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy also spoke today following news that an attendee of the conservative conference CPAC had contracted the virus.
I don't think it's a big deal. I would do it. I don't feel that any reason. I feel extremely good. I feel very good. But I guess it's not a big deal to get tested, and it's something I would do.
None of them are showing any symptoms. It's been a number of days, more than 10 days since that took place, so all of them are taking the recommendations from the medical doctors on what to do.
The president and vice president are not believed to have come in contact with the individual who was infected at CPAC.
The list of entertainment events canceled because of coronavirus fears continues to grow. The Los Angeles Times has postponed the annual Festival of Books and Food Bowl events. The Festival of Books that happens here at USC will move to October, while the Food Bowl's new schedule has not yet been announced. Also, Coachella will move its complete lineup to October.
And when we come back, we'll have numbers from the first states to close polls in the Democratic race tonight.
We also talked with a political expert about the Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden campaigns.
And homelessness advocates are filing a lawsuit against the city and county of Los Angeles. Stay tuned. Only 1 week after Super Tuesday, voters in 6 more states headed to the polls today, and results are coming in right now. Let's take a look at the race so far. Former Vice President Joe Biden is leading the race with a total of 670 delegates. Bernie Sanders trails behind him with 574. Tulsi Gabbard, the only other candidate officially left in the race, has 2 delegates out of total 1,409 already declared. Polls closed 30 minutes ago in 3 states. Here are the numbers. In Michigan, where voting remains open in 4 counties for the next half hour, Joe Biden is ahead with 54.4% of the vote, with 4% of precincts reporting.
We move to Missouri, where the Associated Press is reporting that Joe Biden has won with 46.3%, with 1% of precincts reporting. Bernie Sanders at 18.9%. And in Mississippi, Joe Biden is in first place with 84.8%, 1% precincts reporting here, and Sanders at 11.6%.
Polls will close next in North Dakota and Idaho at 7 Pacific time, with Washington State to close the night out an hour later. A total of 352 delegates will be decided by the end of the night.
And our political anchor, Evan Falstrup, has more on the Democratic race. Evan?
Thanks, guys. Going into today's Democratic presidential primaries, the 2 top contenders, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, are really the only 2 contenders left. Today's results will determine whether Sanders still has a chance to win.
Bernie just really needs to show that for him to be successful, people need to think there's still a race here, still a competitive race, and people want this race to continue on. Because I think if people are ready for this race to be over, they're going to go for Biden.
The last time Bernie ran for president, he won the Michigan primary. Once again, he's relying on a heavy turnout of young voters to win those 125 Michigan delegates.
There are very big differences in policies between the 2, and I think that we have, Bernie, I think, has the stronger reputation and the stronger policy positions that can convince voters and eventually win the general election, is what I think, in my opinion. And I think the media, I guess I would ask to be honest about their policy positions and be clear about what they say and, show them talking.
After victories in South Carolina and Super Tuesday, money has been pouring into the Biden campaign. Sanders supporters complain that the media hasn't been fair to their candidate.
I believe that asking the media to be unbiased is not a reasonable request. The media represents a collection of individuals, and as people, we bring our own opinions and our own biases with us, whether we want to or not. What we can ask the media is to tell us the truth and letting the individual and the voter make their own decision.
Now, polls are already closed in Mississippi, Missouri, and North Dakota. Michigan closes at the top of the hour. Washington and Idaho close at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Back to you guys at the desk.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Evan. So advocates for the homeless are suing the city and county of Los Angeles. The LA Alliance for Human Rights wants to force the government to provide thousands of beds and clean streets for unsheltered residents.
Our goal is to use the federal courts to compel the city and county to house and treat thousands of people in a matter of months. I mean, if we win this lawsuit, lives will be saved, and you'll see a transformation on the streets of Los Angeles, because we feel like if the city and county entered into an agreement with us today, we feel like we could have thousands of people sheltered by Thanksgiving.
LA County released this statement to Annenberg Media. Los Angeles County and its partners are making unprecedented progress to address the crisis of homelessness. Following our usual practice, we will have no comment on the specifics of this or any pending litigation. There are over 60,000 unsheltered people in Los Angeles. The Alliance hopes the city and county work together to identify sites and sources of funding to provide an additional 22,000 beds. So Genevieve, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of rain has been happening today.
Definitely, and I can't help but think about all those homeless people on the streets with this weather. So hoping for some sunshine, but don't think it's in the forecast.
What can you tell us, Chris?
Well, you are right there. It did rain in a couple spurts today, and we're going to see more of that as we move through the week. Why don't we take a look at our current conditions right now? The temperature outside should be about 66 degrees and about 80% humidity, and it's going to stay pretty high for the rest of the week. Why don't we look at tomorrow's forecast? If we move over into the Inland Empire, we're going to see that Palm Springs is going to be your hottest temperature today, around 74 degrees. Up in Big Bear, around 48. No snow there, though. The level of snow has reached about 7,000 feet, but not many places in Big Bear are going to be getting snow. If we move into the San Bernardino and Riverside areas, we're going to be seeing a high 60s across the board. Similar in the valley, but if we look down at the coast in Malibu, it should be a little bit lower, around 62 degrees and 65 in Thousand Oaks. And again, we said the same story in Northridge and San Bernardino as East LA, mid 60s, mid to high 60s. Now, as we move into the East LA area, we're going to see more of the same, mid to high 60s, 66, 67, and 69. Over on the coast, 65 at LAX and 68 right here at USC. Let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. And now, as you can see, in the next couple of days, we're going to be seeing a little bit more of the same, more rain and more 68 degrees. As we move further into the week, we're going to see that temperature drop a little bit. The rain should continue for the rest of the week and peter out at about on Sunday or Monday. Now, let's take a look at that low pressure system that's coming in. The Southland's biggest storm since Christmas hit today, and it's sticking around for a while. There's potential for thunder and lightning storms, and the LA Basin is expected to pick up an inch of rain by Friday. The wet weather is welcome. This February was California's driest on record.
We didn't have hardly any precipitation for the months of January and February. It was the top 5 driest on record for downtown Los Angeles. And that kind of leads into an interesting summer coming up as far as potential for more wildfire activity, because we just didn't see as much.
Now, we've only had 7 inches of rain since October. The average is about 12, and even with a wet March, the NWS doesn't expect us to hit that average. So we're going to have another dry year here in California, and we've got to watch out for those wildfires.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. And more than 3 years after President Trump enacted the travel ban, which kept citizens from predominantly Muslim countries from visiting the U.S., a USC Gold Symposium is working to refocus attention on the topic.
The notion of the immigration systems, that are policies that we have, are really based in deciding who is human. And the systems of this society, the processes of this society, the politics of this society are based upon this codification and narrative of the lack of humanity of Black and Indigenous folks, which then gets transferred to all other non-white people.
Students and faculty heard from legal scholars and activists at Gould School of Law this morning. The panelists discussed the travel ban's lasting impacts and questioned the immigration policies of the Trump administration. They stressed the importance of spreading wide awareness of Trump's controversial approaches to immigration.
The two panels that I saw today were done in an incredibly intersectional and policy-driven way. It was very informative. The main takeaway for me is that we need to work intersectionally, that all our communities, vulnerable communities, are in this together, to work together to solve this kind of multi-sectoral problem.
The panelists ended with calls for equal and humane treatment of those seeking to enter the country. They vowed to continue their advocacy on behalf of immigrants from around the world. And so, we've been having some, pretty bad times here, with the coronavirus, this weather. What are the cancellations for sports? Any
that's
good
right.
news,
Lots of sporting events are getting canceled because of the disease that's spreading around the nation. But the news never stops. When we come back, we'll tell you what Clay Helton had to say about his team avoiding coronavirus on spring break. We'll also tell you which USC sporting events have already been canceled due to the outbreak. And one Pac-12 award snub has the USC men's basketball team fuming. We'll have all that and more when we come back.
Wash hands well each day to keep germs away. Scrub with soap and water and be on your way. Wash hands well each day to keep germs away. Scrub with soap and water and be on your way.
Wash your hands! First you need some soap, then scrub for 20 seconds. If you don't have a clock near you, then sing the ABC song. Be sure to scrub front and back, under your fingernails, and between your fingers. Dry your hands with a clean towel or a paper towel. For more information, go to www.cdc.gov/cleanhands.
Welcome back to ATVN. The coronavirus has caused panic in the sports world. Media members have been banned from locker rooms and events have been outright canceled, and USC athletes are caught in the middle of the chaos. A USC football player told Annenberg Media that head coach Clay Helton held a team meeting yesterday. He told players that if they plan on traveling abroad for spring break, they should cancel those trips in the next 24 hours. So no, Helton does not approve of your trip to Cabo. We also have breaking news that a USC lacrosse match has been canceled. The team was supposed to go up against Stony Brook on Sunday, but now they're scrambling to find another time to meet. A USC athletic spokesperson said, quote, "The Stony Brook athletic department is not allowing its teams to travel due to concerns over COVID-19 and in part to observe New York state of emergency advisories," end quote. According to the USC athletics website, both schools are working on rescheduling the game for a later date. Head coach Lindsey Monday was not available for comment. USC men's volleyball also had a match canceled due to coronavirus. Harvard was scheduled to travel to Los Angeles this weekend, but that's been called off indefinitely with no plans to reschedule. So now the team only has 6 matches left as opposed to 7. Here's what head coach Jeff Nygaard had to say about the lost match.
It's probably for the better, and it's not an opportunity to we don't get the chance to compete against a team that we really like to compete against. I'd always like to go and play some matches and continue to get better at volleyball. So we've actually just had to make some adjustments and tweaks on our end of things so that we're going to be in the gym and make sure we get as much value for the time that we have.
Men's volleyball stands at 5-13 on the season. They're scheduled to face Concordia and Irvine tomorrow. As of now, that match is still a go. Let's go over to Sylvie with more on how coronavirus is affecting college sports.
Thanks, Trevor. Well, college basketball tournaments are around the corner, but coronavirus is taking its toll on them as well. The Ivy League canceled its men's and women's basketball tournaments because of the virus. The tournaments were slated to be held at Harvard, but were canceled after Harvard decided to move classes online and advise students to not come back to campus after spring break. These are the first Division I basketball tournaments to be canceled because of the coronavirus. The basketball tournament is still scheduled to begin tomorrow in Las Vegas, and there have been no announced changes to the NCAA tournament scheduled for later this month. NCAA President Mark Emmert released a statement earlier today saying, quote, "Neither the NCAA COVID-19 advisory panel nor the CDC or local health officials have advised against holding sporting events," end quote. USC's senior guard Jonah Matthews threw some shade at Washington State when he was asked about the possibility of playing in March Madness without any fans present. He said that would be terrible and that he has never had to play without fans except in Pullman, Washington. Even in the midst of all this panic, it looks like Matthews is still finding ways to talk smack. Trevor, can you tell us more about what's going on with USC basketball?
Tough look for Pullman there. I can, Sylvie, though. The Pac-12 basketball awards came out yesterday, but there's so much going on that people barely noticed. But some USC fans definitely noticed that Onyeka Okongwu didn't win Freshman of the Year. Okongwu has been a force on the offensive end. He leads the Pac-12 in field goal percentage. He's been arguably even more dominant on the defensive end. You can see him blocking a shot deep into the stands there. He was born in 2000, so he's probably good at TikTok, too. We'll have to have someone confirm that later. Let's take a look at the guy who did win, Arizona's Zeke Nnaji, also a freshman forward, averages more points per game than Okongwu, but he's clearly made less of an impact on the defensive end, averaging 0.9 blocks per game. On Monday, Jonah Matthews was really candid with the LA Times. He said, "We all know the Big O is the best freshman in the conference." Okongwu did make the All-Pac-12 first team, so he didn't come away completely empty-handed, but maybe the slate will motivate him. USC plays its first Pac-12 tournament game on Thursday. That's all we have for sports.
Thanks
you guys now.
Yeah,
Thanks, Trevor.
Yeah.
So we'll have an update on our top story after the break.
We'll be right back.
Try and avoid sneezing into your hand because you just contaminate them and then spread those germs everywhere. Focus on sneezing into your elbow, like this, and then you don't contaminate your hands. Turn on the water, wet your hands, apply a good amount of soap and lather up, and then focus on washing your hands for about 20 seconds, about the time it takes to sing Happy Birthday twice. Focus on washing the front of your hands, the back, in between the fingers, around the nails, and so on. And then rinse everything off. Use something to wipe your hands after that, preferably something disposable like a paper towel, and then use that to turn off the tap as well. If you get a chance, use that to also open the door to the bathroom as you're leaving. The best way to wash your hands is using running water and soap, but sometimes we don't have that available. So think about carrying with you a hand sanitizer. That should have at least 60% alcohol content.
For more information, visit www.cdc.gov or call 1-800-CDC-INFO.
Sadness. Difficulty concentrating. Loss of interest. Depression can be treated. The first step is talking.
Welcome back. Just a quick update on our top story. The LAUSD has just unanimously approved a measure granting the superintendent the ability to close schools if necessary due to the growing threat of the coronavirus.
Thank you for watching Annenberg TV News, and from everybody here at Annenberg Media, I'm Genevieve Glass.
And I'm Nathan Hyun. Annenberg TV News and See It Live will continue airing at our regular times tomorrow and Thursday. For more coverage, download the Annenberg app and watch us at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night, everyone.